He practically bit off his own momentum on the sacred grass of the All England club. Those were the incredulous whispers echoing among fans and pundits alike. The moment Daniil Medvedev, that towering figure once hailed as one of the most consistent contenders in men's tennis, crashed out of Wimbledon in a first-round fiasco. Some are calling it a meltdown. Others see it as a testament to the merciless nature of the sport. What truly happened out there, on a day so scorching that even the most resilient contenders wilted under the relentless sun? Today, we are taking a deep dive into the swirling drama behind Medvedev's shocking exit, Carlos Alcaraz's desperate scramble to victory, and the surprising turns that have made the early days of this Wimbledon one of the most unpredictable and exhilarating tournaments in recent memory. We will unravel the reasons behind Medvedev's sudden crisis of form, explore how the unstoppable rise of Carlos Alcaraz somehow looked decidedly stoppable when pitted against Fabio Fognini, and shine a light on the deeper cracks forming in the post-Big Three world of men's tennis. In this extended breakdown, you will find intrigue, heartbreak, and, unbelievably, hope for the many fans who turned up expecting the usual polished parade of slam favorites. In this episode, we will go beneath the surface. Why did Medvedev's typical consistency on grass sizzle away in 4 sets to a relatively lesser-known French rival named Benjamin Bonzi? How did Alcaraz find himself tangling with a seemingly unstoppable Fabio Fognini before finally clawing through in 5 arduous sets? And is there a broader pattern at play for the new wave of tennis stars, from Holger Rune to Stefanos Tsitsipas, who are all grappling with unpredictability and injury? We will look at whether this is just a momentary lull in the top star's form or the dawn of a far more chaotic era in men's tennis, where no one's spot is safe. Stick with us as we meticulously piece together how this shimmering grass court dazzled and devoured its would-be champions, forging new narratives in an already intense season. Yes, the heat was merciless, but so were the nerves. On an opening day reported to be one of the hottest in tournament history, Daniil Medvedev walked onto the court as the world number 9, a formidable figure who had previously soared to world number 1 and boasted a Grand Slam title under his belt. Not long ago, between the years 2021 and 2024, he was the face of relative stability during the uncertain period that followed the slight easing of the Big Three's iron grip on the sport. Fans who had grown accustomed to Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Novak Djokovic dominating the headlines suddenly found solace in the lanky Russian, confident in the knowledge that they would see Medvedev anchor the latter stages of Grand Slams. But tennis has a way of surprising us, tearing up the script just when we think we can predict what happens next. Approaching his first-round match against Benjamin Bonzi, a French player hovering around the lower reaches of the top 100, Medvedev was considered the heavy favorite. He had, after all, reached multiple slam finals across these last few years, including a triumph at the United States Open in those post-2020 times. Grass was never his primary surface, but he was no slouch on it either, having reached the semifinals at Wimbledon in previous seasons. Then it all began to unravel. In a match that started with more tension than many might have expected for a first-round encounter, Medvedev's serve misfired from the early points. There is no sight more unsettling for his supporters than watching him stand well behind the baseline, hitting defensive strokes, seemingly unsure whether to press forward. Even more disheartening was the avalanche of double faults that trickled into his game. By the time the scoreboard read 7-6 in Bonzi's favor in the first set, an uneasy hush crept through the crowd. Medvedev might still have found a path to victory, but his confidence seemed shaky. He did manage to recover in the second set, turning the tide with a commanding stretch of rallies that ended 3-6 in his favor, but the regroup didn't last long. Bonzi came roaring back in the third and fourth sets, capturing those crucial tiebreaks with more composure and consistency than the Russian star. By the end, the final score read 7-6, 3-6, 7-6, 6-2 in Bonzi's favor, though those numbers, spelled out in words or not, had a weight far heavier than any typical first-round result. Fans were left reeling. How could the man who once stifled Djokovic in a major final succumb to a less experienced player without so much as a squeak of that famous endurance and grit? Was it the unprecedented heat? Was Medvedev simply exhausted, physically and mentally, from an up-and-down season that saw him contest finals here and there, but rarely lift a trophy since May of 2023? Or is this just one more sign that men's tennis is more open than ever, with new faces ready and willing to dethrone even the most famous names. Whatever the reason, the immediate outcome was indisputable. Medvedev was out. The ripple effect of that shock still resonated throughout the grounds as other hopefuls took to the courts. Suddenly, seeds no longer seemed safe, and the entire men's draw had an electrifying, chaotic energy. Sure enough, it would not be the final upset of the day. Holger Rune, a rising talent touted as one of the leaders of the new wave, struggled and ultimately lost a protracted 5-set match. This added another dimension of unpredictability to a day that was already eye-opening. On grass, anything can happen, but so many major players getting tested on day one is a scenario that begs deeper reflection. Smack in the middle of the day's events, we also had second seed Carlos Alcaraz stepping onto center court. Alcaraz, a player who has stormed the scene with contagious enthusiasm, is already a favorite for many fans. Some even whisper that he may become the unstoppable force to fill the void left by the waning presence of the big three. But tennis narratives are not written solely by hype. So often they are shaped by raw struggle and perseverance. His opponent, Fabio Fognini, was 38 years old and widely rumored to be playing in his final Wimbledon. On paper, Alcaraz had the younger legs, the stronger physique, and all the confidence in the world. That said, Fabio Fognini did not simply roll over. Instead, he pushed Alcaraz to 5 sets, weaving crafty angles and mesmerizing shots that defied the presumed constraints of his age. In a slight reversal of fortunes from Medvedev's meltdown, Alcaraz dug deep, summoning the dogged resilience that has become his hallmark. He overcame those moments of self-doubt, the times when his forehand misfired and Fognini's stable rally tempo threatened to break him. Ultimately, Alcaraz emerged victorious with a score of 7-5, 6-7, 7-5, 2-6, 6-1, ensuring at least one of the new generation's shining lights remained in the tournament. If this sudden turn of tension has you on the edge of your seat, consider tapping that like button or showing your support in whichever way you prefer. We are only just entering the core details of this wild roller coaster, and every bit of engagement helps us keep going, delivering deeper insights into the most fascinating twists and turns in sports. So, with Medvedev out in a manner no one foresaw, the question lingers: what does that loss portend for the remainder of his season? His trajectory had seemed unstoppable between 2021 and 2024 when he reached 5 Slam finals and even snagged that unforgettable United States Open title. However, as we approach the later half of 2024, he finds himself with a single Slam victory this year and 2 humiliating first-round defeats. This is an unprecedented statistic for a man once described as the immovable object in big tournaments. Does he see himself as a contender at the upcoming events? Or is there a deeper slump in play? We also have to factor in the mental side of the sport. Medvedev has long been known for his witty on-court monologues, his sarcasm with umpires, and his entertaining interviews. His persona often exudes a calm yet idiosyncratic assurance, but that veneer can crack when he is rattled. In Melbourne earlier this season, he faced a next-generation talent named Lerner Tien, who thoroughly outplayed him. Clay has never been his best friend, but at the French Open in Paris, Cameron Norrie stunned him in another deflating first-round match. By the time grass court season rolled around, fans and commentators asserted that this was Medvedev's prime chance to restore order to his year. While he did enjoy a decent run at the warm-up event in Halle, culminating in a final appearance against Alexander Bublik, that momentum did not translate into success at Wimbledon. So, what took place mentally during this match against Benjamin Bonzi? Cynical observers might point to simple exhaustion or complacency. Others might blame the scorching conditions that forced even the fittest players to search for shade whenever possible. Another school of thought suggests that Medvedev's deep court return position, the same that helps him thrive on slower surfaces, might have backfired in the quick grass environment, letting Bonzi dictate the terms of engagement far too many times. Perhaps it was simply one of those days where everything from footwork to concentration falls short. Whichever angle you choose, it remains one of the biggest upsets of day one at Wimbledon in recent memory. Naturally, the drama continued into the evening. Beyond the Medvedev meltdown and Alcaraz's nail-biting triumph, one of the more heartbreaking spectacles involves Stefanos Tsitsipas, a perennial hopeful armed with a magnificent one-handed backhand and a flair for the dramatic. Tsitsipas is, alongside Medvedev, part of the generation tasked with carrying men's tennis into a post-Big Three era. Yet he too found his run abruptly cut short, hampered by a nagging back injury. Forced to retire while trailing 6-3, 6-2 against Valentin Royer, a French qualifier, Tsitsipas looked crestfallen. He spoke somberly about battling many wars these days, capturing the frustration of a talent in the throes of multiple setbacks. These first 2 days alone brought forth a riveting contrast between the unstoppable juggernaut that tennis fans once considered Medvedev and the gritty, unpredictable nature of the professional circuit, where no intangible can be taken for granted. Even Holger Rune, that fierce and fearless presence who wields a potent all-court game, stuttered in 5 sets, further reinforcing that this Wimbledon is no walk in the park for any seed. In many ways, it is reminiscent of older times when stadiums would fill with the hum of possible upsets around every corner, a feeling that the establishment was trembling under the weight of hungry outsiders who had nothing to lose. But let's turn our gaze back to Carlos Alcaraz. The Spanish sensation, now pegged by many as the guiding light for the next era of tennis, entered the tournament allegedly chasing his 3rd Wimbledon crown in a row. That statement alone begs careful consideration, since the tennis world has only recently begun to recover from the era of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, claiming nearly every trophy in sight. Alcaraz, though, has quickly built a reputation for his fearless style and indefatigable energy. So when Fabio Fognini, an Italian veteran known for his flashy shot-making and volatile temperament, took him to 5 sets, speculations erupted. Was Alcaraz not feeling well? Or is the competition catching up to him? In truth, it might just be that Fognini found one last reservoir of brilliance in what looks set to be his farewell Wimbledon. His ability to rattle Alcaraz's baseline patterns, to vary pace and spin, tested the Spaniard's patience. Perhaps the lesson is that no matter how young or formidable a champion in waiting might be, the tennis gods love to see perseverance tested. And tested Alcaraz was. At 2 sets apiece, it seemed the match dangled in the balance, but the last set saw Alcaraz recollect his resolve and grind out a 6-1 finish. If he had fallen on the same day Medvedev did, it would have triggered an earthquake of doubts about the stability of men's tennis. For now, Alcaraz fans can breathe easy, at least until the next round. What then do we glean from these sudden fluctuations? Is men's tennis heading into a new pattern, one marked by upsets, injuries, and near misses from the top contenders? Or will we witness a recalibration, with Alcaraz and others eventually pulling away once again? There is, of course, the tantalizing prospect that Novak Djokovic himself, with his wealth of experience and the unstoppable aura he has cultivated for over a decade, is smiling from the sidelines, confident that the path is clearing for another stamp of his legacy. But only time and the never-ending swirl of the tennis cosmos will reveal the answers. Then again, there is an inherent beauty in the unexpected. For so long, fans have debated whether the Big Three's dominance was stifling the sport. Though we revered their greatness, we also yearned for new narratives, upsets, and a sense that the next sonic boom of tennis talent would break open the fortress. Now that those gates appear open, new storylines tumble out by the day, fueling excitement, anxiety, and a dash of confusion. We cannot help but wonder if this is the shape of men's tennis to come. After all, players like Bonzi, Tien, or Royer have proven they can topple those once deemed unstoppable on their best days. If this roller coaster of triumphs and collapses resonates with you, consider subscribing so you do not miss our upcoming breakdowns of the most astonishing transformations in sports. We have only examined Wimbledon's early stages here, and the developments yet to come promise even more enthralling surprises. Shifting focus again, let us revisit some of the psychological dimensions that might be influencing these shocking results. Medvedev's internal monologue has always been one of the more peculiar and illuminating in tennis. During matches, he is notorious for conversing with his box, shaking his head in comedic dismay, or giving that trademark shrug as if to say, "Why is this happening?" For a player who thrives on finding unstoppable patterns and systematically dismantling his opponent's game, that sense of comedic detachment works wonders, until it no longer does. Once frustration sets in and he feels his system is failing, it can be difficult for him to construct a plan B, especially on grass, which punishes timidity with lightning speed. Bonzi's aggression, combined with the sweltering heat, left Medvedev pinned behind the baseline, unable to truly step up and unleash his characteristic deep ground strokes. Oddly enough, One could argue that this early exit might liberate the Russian player from accumulating further mental scars at Wimbledon this year. Instead, he has time to regroup, retool, and prepare for the next big tournament on the calendar. With the final slam of the year, the United States Open, still waiting on the horizon, perhaps Medvedev will find a way to realign the talents that once propelled him to a major title. Fans remain hopeful, at least, that this is not the end of his presence at the top of men's tennis. Looking more broadly, Alcaraz's struggles highlight that no big star, no matter how scorching their rise, is immune to a wily veteran looking to have one last dance on the grand stage. It also thrusts a spotlight on the intensely physical nature of the sport. When the mercury soars and the grass retains heat, endurance becomes an even more decisive factor, and slight niggles can flare into major setbacks. Alcaraz, though young, is not impervious to such conditions. And if a talented veteran like Fognini can find creative ways to push him into awkward spots, it shows that the player many predict to rule the next decade is still forging some of his crucial battle armor. Naturally, the post-Big Three debate rages on. If all these new faces are losing and winning in such rapid, almost random cycles, does men's tennis risk losing the sense of stable storylines that Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic provided for so long? Or does it, in fact, introduce a healthy unpredictability, ensuring that any given match can become a must-watch? Many fans feel that unpredictability is precisely what tennis needs, given how many felt starved for new challengers after nearly 2 decades of the Big Three's command. Now, each slam has become a wide-open field, where names like Rune, Sinner, Zverev, and Alcaraz are favorites, but never guaranteed. Still, the crushing disappointment felt by Tsitsipas devotees is a sobering reminder that injuries and fatigue can derail even the most passionate competitor. His early retirement against Royer felt especially poignant because it signaled that, for all the hype around him, Tsitsipas struggles to maintain top form consistently. The cyclical nature of tennis means each generation eventually stumbles upon these stumbling blocks, but expectations were so high for this Greek star that seeing him withdraw in such fashion rekindles the question, can Tsitsipas truly break through in an era dominated by the next wave of unstoppable talent and an ever-lurking Djokovic? On the other side, the French contingent at Wimbledon had plenty to celebrate with Benjamin Bonzi's spirited performance. We often talk of the French fandom yearning for a champion who can replicate the success gleaned by previous icons. Though Bonzi is not, by popular estimation, the French star destined to hoist a Grand Slam trophy, the dynamism and self-belief he exhibited in dismantling Medvedev suggests that fortunes can shift wildly in modern tennis. The intangible known as belief can sometimes conquer technique, form, and even ranking points. And if Bonzi can keep up that self-belief, who knows what else he might achieve over the course of the fortnight. As for Medvedev's legacy, the possibility remains that this season's slump in slams might be just a temporary dip. The tennis calendar can be forgiving. One big win at the next event can restore the aura of inevitability he cultivated during those earlier seasons. The real question is whether he can patch together the mental fortitude that saw him upset Djokovic in that famous United States Open final, or push Nadal to the brink in Melbourne. Panic might not be in Medvedev's vocabulary, but fans and analysts alike have not witnessed such an uncomfortable string of slam exits from him in a considerable while. We end up asking ourselves, if even an established slam champion can be toppled so early, might other top seeds be equally vulnerable? Should we place our unwavering faith in Carlos Alcaraz, or will more cunning challengers lie in wait, ready to turn the second seed's journey into another cliffhanger? Indeed, these are the threads we will follow closely in the days ahead. The beauty of this storied grass court major is that the next upset can occur with only a few minutes' notice, changing the trajectory of the draw in the blink of an eye. Veteran watchers of Wimbledon can attest that the chaos often peaks in the early rounds, setting a tone that resonates through the entire tournament. Sometimes, fans might fret that the demise of big names so early robs the tournament of star power. But let us look at the bright side. New heroes can emerge when the weight of expectation is lifted from their shoulders. As with Bonzi's scintillating display, or the unexpected brilliance sometimes showcased by lesser-known names, these upsets foster fresh narratives. The short grass season, being the least familiar surface for many on tour, heightens this sense of unpredictability. And that unpredictability can, quite fittingly, be what keeps crowds enthralled. As we wrap up this deep exploration into the lightning rods of excitement on Wimbledon's Day 1 and Day 2, there is much to be gained from not just the raw drama, but also the questions we take forward. Will Daniil Medvedev regroup in time for the next slam, or does he drift further into unpredictability? Has Carlos Alcaraz proven that he can handle adversity under scorching conditions, or do those punishing five-set battles hint at an underlying vulnerability that someone else could exploit? Will Stefanos Tsitsipas find a way to conquer his physical woes, reclaim the drive that once saw him come close to snatching Grand Slam glory, and bounce back stronger? And above all, is this a turning point where we officially acknowledge that no name is safe? Whatever your perspective, let us all savor the spectacle that is tennis at its most dramatic, where the mighty can fall and the underestimated can rise, and where each swing of the racket can swing entire destinies. The green lawns of Wimbledon have always held an allure that blends heritage, pressure, and surprise, all swirling into one mesmerizing display of athletic skill. This year, that legacy is alive and roaring. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Stay tuned as we continue to track every Razor's Edge development, building a tapestry of narratives that together form the evolving story of modern tennis. Now, before you move on with your day, if this deep dive into the unexpected has piqued your interest, be sure to follow along for more in-depth sports coverage. Your support means the world to us, and there is more analysis, more interviews, and more behind-the-scenes glimpses yet to come. One thing is for certain, the southeastern corner of London may currently be basking in unprecedented sunshine, but on the courts, storms of unpredictability are forming. Will Alcaraz ride this wave all the way to his next major title, or are more Benjamins, more up-and-comers, out there waiting to pounce on a weary giant? Will Medvedev's next chapter be one of redemption or further frustration? Tennis fans around the world continue to watch, enthralled, bracing for the next day's play to reveal a new twist. And that, dear listener, is what keeps our beloved sport so irresistibly captivating.